everyone. I guess we'll get going now. We've got a decent amount of people here. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to talk to you about our new innovative product, Airboard AERO. We're going to dive deeper into what it is today. Scott Carpenter, the technical education manager, will be giving the presentation today. Please feel free to write your questions in the Q&A area as you have them, and then we'll respond to them at the end of the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, you'll receive an email for a short survey to talk about the presentation today and your thoughts, and we really appreciate your feedback. Scott, take it away.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you everybody for joining us. I guess I should say good morning and good afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you're at. Even good evening if you're calling in from or coming in from overseas. So, really excited to be able to discuss our latest venture into molded insulation into the construction field, and we're very happy that you were able to join us today. So without any further ado, I'm going to start the presentation. And as Alicia said, if any questions come up, please feel free to put them in the chat section, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Okay, and I'm going to just shut off my video. All right, I assume everybody can see the presentation up on their screens. As I said before, Airfoam is very excited to bring this brand new product to market. It's been a few years in the making, and we've gone through a bunch of rigorous testing and manufacturing pieces in order to be able to be proud to present this to you here today. Oops. There we go. Just an agenda of what we're going to be discussing today. Obviously, the introduction to the Airboard series of products. What is Airboard AERO? What are the technical elements? We're going to dive into a little bit of what GPS versus XPS and EPS and the differences. We'll talk briefly about the general installation methods. And then we'll finish off with just giving you a brief overview of the other products that Airfoam has on board with us and that we do offer to our customers. Finally, talking about supporting documentation, and then at the end of it, brief question and answer period. So it should take us about 45 minutes to go through all this, and then it leaves us about 10 or 15 minutes for question and answers. So what is Airboard AERO? Well, it's a rigid high-performance exterior insulation. Airfoam Industries is excited to welcome this newest member to our product lineup. So we have a various number of different products out there, but this is the latest to our product lineup, and we're very excited for where it's going to take us, not only the end of this year, but well beyond 2025 and beyond. So what is it? Well, basically, it's an exterior above grade insulation. It's graphite infused expanded polystyrene with advanced polymeric facers and perforated laminated faces. So again, all those things mixed into an insulation board for your above grade insulation, which meets some really interesting elements that are required when we're adding additional continuous insulation on the outside face of our buildings. So our specifications. AERO has a thermal value of R5 per nominal inch. So when we look at it as a material itself, obviously it's available in 6 different thicknesses, starting at 5/8 inches thick, a 1-inch board. Nominal insulation value is actually at R5 is 1 1/16 of an inch. So that's where we come in with the R5 per nominal inch of foam, type 1 GPS. And then obviously we go into 1.5 inches, 2 inch, and 2 1/8 inches, depending on what you need to get you all the way up to that R10 value. Without this, obviously with every product, especially in the construction field, it does have to go through some testing and does have to meet with building code compliance. We're very excited and very happy that we've been able to pass everything so far that we've required for building code compliance through third-party quality control and building code compliance for residential and commercial projects across North America. So getting a bit deeper into this, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's new to the North America market, but it is relatively new when it comes to sheet board insulation in the marketplace today for North America. So what is GPS? Well, GPS is a graphite polystyrene, or graphite expanded polystyrene, as some may call it, GEPS. It's a rigid foam board product that is used for both new construction and retrofit projects, depending on what your requirements are. In fact, according to BASF, GEPS can provide up to 20% more energy savings for homes and buildings compared to its traditional white expanded polystyrene counterpart. So where a lot of companies, including ourselves, have manufactured EPS, or expanded polystyrene material, this is just one more level, or one level up from that expanded polystyrene material to include the graphite infused beads into building products. GPS also gives maximum efficiency, cost effectiveness, and sustainability to your insulation projects. Architects, contractors, and builder owners benefit from insulation made of GPS due to their reduction in thickness while offering higher R values over EPS products. While GPS is a relatively newer product in North America, it's quickly becoming a preferred choice for thermal insulation. For several decades, GPS has been the leading choice of insulation across Europe and other parts of the world. So some of the features and benefits of our Airboard AERO products is obviously stability and durability. GPS is adaptable in size, thickness, shape, and density, providing maximum flexibility and durability. GPS is stable as it consistently delivers the highest true R value performance over time. It also acts as moisture management. So again, as we're trying to do a better job on managing our moisture content within our cavity style walls, or within our walls period, in all of our buildings, GPS is a breathable and semi-permeable high performance insulation that helps reduce the risk of mold, rot, and structural damage associated with moisture condensation and long-term water retention. It's also adaptable to all climate zones. GPS powers up when it gets colder outside, insulating the exterior face of walls with GPS increases the temperature of inside surfaces, excuse me, which helps create a drier, healthier indoor climate. GPS boards are thinner than others, so the same effect is achieved with less material. Resource efficiencies, or efficient. GPS uses up to 30% less material than other rigid foam insulation to achieve the same R value, saving on building materials and installation labor and time. Performance R values, graphite infused EPS technology. AERO incorporates advanced technology with the infusion of graphite particles in the expanded polystyrene. This integration enhances the thermal performance, or thermal resistance, and insulation properties of the material. Great thing about it is the consistent R5 per inch, nominal inch performance. Remarkable R value of 5 per nominal inch of insulation material. This high thermal resistance contributes to superior energy efficiency in buildings. GPS has a higher R value than conventional EPS and the same R value as XPS. The one thing that we have found with the GPS over XPS is the stability over time. AERO maintains a stable and permanent insulation value with no thermal drift or loss of R value over time, ensuring long-term performance without compromising energy efficiency. And again, we're trying to build our structures that long-term energy efficiency over the life of the building. So one of the things that are unique, or are very unique to this product, is the fact that we've also, the perforated fascia sheets allow water vapor to escape, allowing drying of the wall assembly to the exterior. So it doesn't get trapped in there and create that mold, moisture, and rot problems that we see with other insulating products. It also acts as an integrated water-resistant barrier. Because of the perforations and thickness of the GPS, AERO does not need additional house wrap. Taping and sealing of joints obviously is still required, but again, with the perforations, it acts as that house wrap that you would see with other products out there. So it gives you that complete additional insulation with house wrap already built in one nice neat package. It's also UV stable. Extended UV stability. Airboard AERO features a laminated face that maintains UV stability for up to 90 days post-installation. This extended stability ensures resilience against prolonged exposure to sunlight. So again, it's up to 90 days post-installation of that stability before you would start to see any type of change within the product itself. But by that time, typically you're going to have your exterior finishes completed and buttoned up on the outside face of that building. The other thing it's great for is it also prevents thermal bridging. One of the biggest challenges that we've had, particularly, well, in every building throughout the world, is the thermal bridge effect that occurs in all of our buildings. Obviously, we can't cover up all our windows and doors, so we're still going to have some thermal bridging occurring in those regions. But everywhere where you have stud work, any breach through from the inside to the outside, it has always been a concern and a problem with thermal bridging. So the continuous insulation piece has been a relatively new area for building codes departments and builders alike, and architects, designers, in trying to minimize the thermal bridge that occurs through a conventionally built wall. And with the Airboard AERO, it ensures continuous insulation, creating a seamless barrier that significantly reduces thermal bridging through studs and other wall framing members. So when we look at the total effective R value, and we look at how we've been building for decades, centuries in our buildings, if we take a simple look at a 2x6 wall. A 2x6 wall, again, framed wall, we've been building like that for decades, for centuries. When you start going through all of the R value makeup of that complete assembled piece, even though we talk about an R24 2x6 insulated wall, it's really only performing, once you get all those pieces together, like an R17, just over an R17 for that complete assembly. And that's only due because of the fact that you have studs going from inside to outside, your cladding, your OSB board, and your Airfoam, but all those areas of thermal bridging are affecting that total R value of that wall assembly. When we just go and add just one inch nominal of insulation to the outside in the Airboard AERO, it actually takes that R17 and increases it to R22. So still, we're getting there with our 2x6 framing, but we're actually adding that continuous insulation. So looking at the total effective R value, you're getting to that R22 factor. So it's a factor R value. It's a 23% increase, going up against that assembled wall. By adding nominally 2 inches of Airboard AERO to give you an additional R10, we actually take that effective total R value up to R27, just over R27 for that assembled wall. So again, we're going well beyond the traditional R24 bad insulation and taking it well beyond and above and giving it a total effective R value for that assembled piece. Durability. So because it's a rigid construction and so it reduces the breakage reduction, it's non-structural. Wood sheathing or bracing for strength as per code. So you're going to need additional bracing or wind bracing as you would normally for code. It's not a structural piece. It's just additional insulation. Airboard AERO's lamination of the boards are engineered for durability, significantly reducing the risk of breakage during handling, transportation, and on-site installation. So again, they are foam sheets. They do take a fair bit of a beating on through all the methods that we for manufacturing to getting it to site. But again, we're just trying to reduce that breakage. We can't. It's still foam at the end of the day. It has that ability that it could break if it's put under enough stress or pressure. What are the applications that we currently find it being used on? Really, any exterior wall that requires that additional insulation to prevent thermal bridging from occurring from inside to outside. So it's an exterior insulation, so wood frame walls, steel stud walls, panelization systems, whether they be wood or steel or whatever method they're using, tilt-up precast walls. So again, where the concrete is on the outside face, if they need additional insulation to help offset the interior insulation, it can be added to the concrete itself. Cast in place concrete walls, so traditional cast in place concrete walls, above grade walls, it can also be included in those applications for those types of builds. Our foam product comparisons. So when we start looking at the different products that are available out there in the marketplace today, anything from EPS to XPS and to GEPS, these are some of the areas that we want to take a look at and how the R value comparison works between these types of materials. So when you start looking at EPS expanded polystyrene, typically it runs, depending on the density per nominal inch, anywhere from R 3.6 to 4.2 per inch per nominal inch. GPS actually increases to at a 1 inch thickness to 4.7, which matches your XPS or your extruded polystyrene material to R 4.7 inch per inch. So where XPS was allowed to claim R5 per inch, new regulations require XPS to claim a 5-year aged value of R 4.7 per inch. Due to ongoing release of blowing agents, GPS and EPS maintain permanent insulation values at or above these XPS claims and information. So when we start looking at the long-term value, EPS and GPS do not change based on the long-term R value. Whereas, again, through documentation, independent documentation, XPS is actually decreased to as low as R 4.5 per inch. And it depends on again, the retention of blowing agents, gases to maintain that R value. These all will affect the R value at, when you go beyond that 5-year requirement that has been put in place. So XPS insulation has a higher R value than EPS and is equal to GPS, around 4.7. However, it does see that reduction as I talked about. GPS insulation has an R value of R 4.7 to 4.9, which makes it a kind marriage between EPS insulation and XPS. It has a customization and lower raw material requirements of EPS with the heat flow resistance of XPS. So again, all these are benefits of using the GPS in the Airboard materials. So looking at it in a time chart or in a performance over time graph or chart that we look at, if you look at EPS, type 2 EPS, okay, R 4.2 per inch. The GPS is R 4.7 per inch. And if you take a look at how it ages from new through that 5-year period and then all the way up to the 50-year period, it stays stable for those aged performance over time captures that we're looking for. Whereas if we look at XPS and even polyiso, we put that in here too, and we start looking at, okay, they come out of the gate, they're very good products when they're brand new. When they're aged for 5 years, you start to see a decrease in their performance R value. And then obviously over that 50-year period, it really decreases down well below where it was initially talked about or reported out at the brand new stage. So these are concerns. And again, as we look to build these structures for a long-term performance of how they're going to be heated and cooled over time, these are a big concern of how these products differ over time compared to EPS and GPS. So why EPS, GPS over XPS for water absorption? Again, some of the things that we see and that we talk about and these are facts that we've taken right out of some of the EPS Industry Alliance and through test standards that have been tested to. Fact one, independent research has shown that over time, XPS will absorb and retain more moisture than EPS or GPS. resulting in a significant decrease in R value. So water will change and will affect how that performance occurs. One of the studies showed XPS retained 19% water absorption compared to 5% for EPS and GPS after being buried below grade for 15 years. That's significant when we start looking at some of these products and how they're going to perform over a longer period of time. Fact number 3. As a result, the XPS samples only retain 52% of its initial R value, where EPS and GPS retain 94% of its original R value. So again, there's very, very big significant difference between those samples and how they're going to perform over time. And that's huge if we're looking at these buildings being energy efficient for that long duration. XPS water absorption has been shown to exceed that of EPS and GPS in as little as 9 months for exposure to wet conditions. So again, it does still absorb that material. Absorbs moisture in there a lot higher than EPS and GPS. So how do we perform when it comes to vapor permeance? When it comes to the differences between these two products, one of the most notable differences is in breathability. Simply put, XPS is not a breathable material. It retains water over time, and it's due to the way it's produced, with the beads being so tightly joined together, resulting in a much lower perm rating than GPS. So again, closed cell beads, EPS is an extruded, forced material through a jig, whereas XPS is extruded, whereas GPS and EPS are actually shape molded products that are expanded and fused together. So a double vapor barrier is created when a layer of XPS foam board is placed on the exterior of a wall assembly. Per your building code, a vapor barrier must be on the inside. If you put a layer of impermeable foam on the outside from our R value, then you have a vapor barrier on the outside of the wall as well. The problem with a double vapor barrier is that it can trap moisture within the wall assembly. And again, that's not where we want that moisture to be trapped. Is we want to get rid of it so it doesn't create problems, particularly when it comes to mold and mildew in our buildings, which can create some health issues for the occupants of those buildings. Why EPS GPS over XPS for vapor permeance? Well, this results in a series of problems. Bad insulation can get soaked and sag, creating gaps with any insulation. So again, we're now having another problem with thermal bridging occurring in that wall, and that will affect the R value of your wall assembly. The wood framing, once you trap some of that vapor permeance in there, what can happen? Well, wood, it will rot. It is still a product that over time, when it's exposed to moisture, will rot. And dangerous mildew and mold can grow within there, which could affect the health of the occupants within that building. How GPS works and why it's better. GPS, however, is permeable and as a result dries very quickly. In fact, GPS is a perm rating of up to 5.0 perms at 1 inch thick, which is more than 4 times that of XPS for the same thickness. So when a layer of GPS foam board insulation is placed on the wall of the exterior assembly, it allows vapor and moisture to pass through, allowing the wall to dry towards the outside of the assembled wall. So again, things are being pulled out of the wall and not being trapped within that assembled wall assembly. Oops. So again, showing that Airboard AERO with the strapping, with siding on the outside of this particular building. So when you start looking at the installation and what we need to do to prep that wall, whether it be a brand new wall or a existing wall assembly, and we want to add additional insulation to the outside face to make that existing building more energy efficient, first you want to remove and patch deformations, irregularities, and voids in the substrate to prevent broken insulation and weak connections. When we're lapping our sheets together, you're going to butt all your edges and ends tightly to the adjacent to Airboard AERO and avoid leaving gaps where the insulation meets other components. So again, we want to make sure that the sheet lap joints are as tight as they possibly can be. When looking at the corner overlaps, if applicable, obviously you want to stagger your airboard arrow joints in one direction for each course and lap airboard at corners of the wall. So again, we're trying to overlap the corners and make sure that we don't have any thermal bridge occurring. And with that, we'll also seal those joints or seal those laps with a flashing tape or a type of tape that'll allow it to not give that air an opportunity to move through that seam area of the board. Any surface penetration, sheet gaps, again, seal insulation gaps and joints that have been cut or damaged, corners, edges, penetrations, using a suitable compatible materials such as a compatible flashing wrap or a low expansion spray foam. Either one of those will not affect the performance of the airboard arrow, and will seal those areas to ensure you don't get any thermal bridging occurring around those cut areas. Adhesion taping methods, if required, fastening penetrations and the seams between airboard arrow may be sealed with compatible approved sealing and sheathing tape. Tape by starting at the bottom of the wall and working upwards, maintain continuity between airboard arrow and other air and vapor barriers in the buildings. So again, if required, provide edge protection such as J channels for exposed airboard arrow at the bottom of the insulation or even at the top. So just to make sure that you don't have any, you can seal that end piece in place. So, and showing by the picture, spray foam along with the sheathing tape is obviously, you got a good, better, best scenario. But any gaps that you see that would be of that nature, obviously the spray foam would be a great option to spray in there, and then obviously taping it up to ensure that there's no bridging occurring, thermal bridging. Plain urethane adhesive may be used where the bead lines are applied in a vertical fashion, 12 to 16 inches. Sheathing tape should be a minimum 2 3/8 wide. Fasteners do not need to be taped to maintain the air barrier continuity. And sheathing tapes usually have recommended installation temperature ranges, see tape manufacturer's specifications. So, and typically, my experience has always been that most sheathing tapes, actually any kind of tape, does not work and does not adhere to a wet wall. So again, making sure that surface is kept dry when putting the tape on will ensure that you get a good bond between the adhesion side of the tape and the facer paper on the airboard arrow. Mechanical fastening, obviously mechanical fastening is the suitable choice for attaching the arrow board onto a substrate. Mechanically secure the airboard arrow, insulation of framing or other structural substrate. Pneumatic nail guns can be used to install the fastener washers and keep the fastener washers flush with the insulation. Staples should be galvanized steel, 16 gauge or larger, with a minimum of 1 inch wide crowns. Alternatively, use screws or nails with plastic washers that are a minimum 1 inch in diameter. Larger washers may be used by alternating the fastening pattern. The fastener length should be equal to airboard arrow insulation thickness plus a minimum of 1 inch penetration into your substrate. So you want to make sure you have at least a 1 inch penetration into your substrate, plus the thickness of the airboard arrow as your screw length. The minimum edge to fasten distance should be about, the minimum edge to fastener distance should be 3/4 of an inch. So again, you shouldn't go any less than 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the airboard arrow. When cutting the airboard arrow is easily cut with utility knives, circular saws, where cutting volume makes it faster. For easier cutting, airboard arrow facers are marked up vertically and horizontally. So we've again given you some opportunities to cut on the dotted lines. These guidelines are spaced at 8 inches on center with markers at 2 inch increments. And we're just trying to help simplify the measuring and cutting procedures when you're going to install the product on a wall. Airboard arrow may be tacked, spot adhered, or to substrates prior to fastening the finishes, such as wall sheathing or furring strips. Strapping can also be installed. It can nailed to the framing or the structural substrate. And then your cladding options, exterior finishes that you would put over traditional walls will work with airboard arrow. So again, we're not trying to change or try to modify what's currently available out there in the construction world. We are just that continuous insulation piece that goes from the exterior sheathing or the exterior wall assembly to your exterior finish to give that continuous insulation. So brick or stone, vinyl siding, fiber cement board, steel or metal, wood siding, aluminum, thin set brick or stone. Just please follow all the recommended installation procedures for those exterior finishes before applying them onto the Airboard AERO. Now, we have been very fortunate to have one case study of a passive house, and it is in Camrose, Alberta. Key features, obviously, it was a high insulation performance, so they wanted to take it well beyond just the minimum standard. So they went with the nominal 2-inch thickness, giving an additional R10, enhancing energy efficiency, and used it as a primary water barrier. The panels serve as the primary exterior water barrier, providing protection against moisture and infiltration. Results: sustainability supports the passive house goals of reducing energy consumption. So again, trying to get to that passive house design in this particular case study was very important to the builder and the owner. And again, by adding that 2 inches of Airboard AERO to the outside, we are getting that reduced energy consumption, which meets the passive house requirements for these people. And it's also resilience, improved durability through superior insulation and moisture protection. So that's really, when it comes to the Airboard AERO piece and products that we have currently for you. That is our newest one to our product lineup. Some additional Airfoam products that maybe some or already know or did not know. Obviously, we have a variety of different products that can meet any type of construction requirement out there. Everything from just regular Corelite EPS products, so sheet materials that can be cut at various thicknesses for under slabs, any number of applications that you can think of, including our Corelite GPS. So again, just using the graphite infused without the facer papers on it for additional insulation under slabs. Any number of different applications. We have a laminated rigid board in EPS and GPS that is used for more below grade, doesn't have the perforations in the actual facer papers. So again, it's not required for the exit of moisture going to the outside. It's meant to go down below grade or under slab to resist the moisture movement from occurring through the insulation. We also have an ICF product called Quad Lock. Again, very durable, very unique product that is very versatile in the construction field. Can be used to create a number of different types of projects, anywhere from residential, commercial to multi-story townhouse complexes. Just about anything you think of in the construction world. Airfoam also has a insulated concrete floor system, so-called quad deck, which allows us to do suspended floor systems. So anywhere where you want to have insulation, say you've got a garage space below, occupied living space above, this gives you the span while also giving you the insulation and performance of a concrete floor, all rolled up into one nice, neat package. It can also be used for roofs too. So again, as we look at some of the other areas, especially in the commercial world, of insulated roofs and the requirements that are needed there, this works very well in that field. Airfoam can also create tapered roofing EPS, whether it be EPS or GPS. Again, all these things are made by the company and shape molded or cut molded to the requirements of the building. Raft slabs, custom shapes we can create. We do seedling trays for reforestation opportunities. Biggest one, some of the biggest things that we've done too is geofoam and void fill. void foam. So instead of putting a bunch of fill in there, we're actually using great big huge EPS foam blocks to build bridge abutments or roadways coming up to those bridge abutments. So instead of using a bunch of fill in there, we're using that EPS geofoam product. Also, our commitment to sustainability. Again, yes, we are a EPS manufacturer, but we are committed to the sustainability and obviously the opportunity to recycle our products where it can be, where it's available. Customers can return clean and segregated number 6 white expanded polystyrene EPS rigid foam to us at one of our recycling EPS recycling facilities. Again, we have numerous plants in North America. BC we have 3 or 4 plants, 3 plants out in BC, 1 in Ontario, 1 down in Georgia, in the United States. EPS can be will be recycled for reuse in a variety of different applications, from construction and landscaping to picture frames and park benches. So all these things, again, it's not just thrown into a landfill site. Wherever possible, we want to recycle the EPS products and have it used in other areas going forward. So without that, we also have a variety of different supporting documentation. And again, key things for any of our product lines, including the Airboard AERO that we've been talking about today, is obviously technical specifications, CAD details, technical data sheets, cell sheets. The testing reports are available. And we also have an installation guide just to make sure that it is being applied and being installed as per what we expect it to be installed like. So for any of this additional information, again, contact us and we'll be happy to share that with you. Obviously, the other area that you can go to is onto our website, and it's always available there for download. Again, in conclusion, Airfoam products are available through its network of dealers and distributors. Please call toll-free the number below for a local dealer near you. And again, we'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to introduce and talk about Airboard AERO. And should anyone have any questions, please feel free to ask. I think we've got a few. Oh, and by the way, follow us on social media. Social media is huge for us. Whether it be LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram, all these things we do keep an eye on, and we'd be more than happy to reshare or like projects that you've completed using any one of our products, and we'd love to reshare those to the world.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, Alicia, what do we have for questions?
We have some questions. The first one is, do you have a product that is 4 inches for R20 value?
We can create a 4-inch product. We can certainly hot wire cut one of our large foam blocks into a 4-inch product, or beyond. I mean, there's really, for us, there's really no limitation typically for what we can do when it comes to shape molding and molding it. Once you get above that 2 1/8 or 2.5 inches, you start to change some of the properties of it. But again, it can be achieved. Yes, we can get you a 4-inch product if required.
You probably want to do something with our Coralite GPS instead of our Airboard AERO, so that you still get your water resistance and permeance there.
That's correct. Yes.
And the next question, this is for everyone, but a question is, are the slides for the presentation available? And if this is something that you are looking for, feel free to reach out to events@airfoam.com, or just send us a message right now and I can write down your name and get this information to you, because that was a few.
Absolutely. I mean, we can always do additional lunch and learns that are specific to a certain group of people. We'd be more than happy to put that together and come and see you in person, and obviously have samples and things like that, along with some of our other products that we have.
Absolutely. And then there was another question here. Why is polyurethane or ISO missing from the comparison?
It wasn't. We did talk about it when it came to the insulation chart that we were talking about. The challenge with some of the polyiso products is the lack of documentation that's currently out there. But again, we were able to find some of how it performs over a longer period of time, and because it's not a sheet, but more it's a spray foam kind of material. It's tough to get the comparison with when we start looking at XPS to GPS and EPS.
Absolutely. I think another reason we wanted to focus mainly on the XPS to EPS and GPS is that they're used for similar purposes. On paper have similar performance characteristics, but we wanted to highlight where the differences are and why EPS and GPS outperform XPS. Something like poly or ISO are used in different areas and have different characteristics generally speaking.
And then that's a good point, Alicia. When we start looking at polyiso, it's used more to fill a cavity or a void. We're using our products as a continuous insulation up the outside face of a wall. So good point.
Yes, and a cost difference there too.
Big cost difference.
And I think that's all we have for questions right now. If anyone has any other questions, we'll give you another few seconds here. If not, please feel free to reach out to us, events@airfoam.com. If something comes up to you, we will be reaching out to you as well after the event. We'll have our survey coming to you. And for those who mentioned that they wanted to see the slides, I will send those to you. Perfect. Okay, I think that's everything.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days. Airfoam is very excited about this product for not only the end of 2024, but beyond 2025 and beyond. We feel that it's going to make a difference in the construction world, and we look forward to seeing a lot of new structures and existing structures with Airboard AERO on the outside of them. So again, thank you for taking the time, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, everyone.